Hey, CES, Miss G here. We're going to go right into lessons today. This is lesson 3 in your theory packet, and I will also be doing lesson number 4 in your packet. So today, lesson 3 is bass clef. Bass clef is important, especially if you are singing alto right now, and when you get into 7th and 8th grade choir, boys, your voices will start to get lower, and as they get lower, you will start singing in bass clef. And so you've got to know how to read it. Girls, it's important that we know how to read it because we have to know how the voices fit in the chord to create harmony. So we all have to learn how to read bass clef as well as treble clef, okay? Bass clef is the lower pitches. Let's see what it says about bass clef. The bass clef, pronounced bass, it looks like bass, but it's no fish in music, just bass, is used for notes in the lower pitch ranges. The bass, or F clef, has evolved from the stylized letter F. And as you can see, those two dots surround the F line in the bass clef note series, okay? The two dots, as it said, I just told you, surround the line called F. Then it says, in the bass staff, the names of the notes on the lines from the bottom to the top are G, B, D, F, and A. So we had in treble clef, every good boy does fine. Now we have good boys do fine always. I want to show you a little trick that it took me, no one taught me this, and I think once I learned it, it like, wow, opened a new little kind of light bulb went on. So when we did treble clef, the first note was E. The second note was G. Guess what? In bass clef, it dropped down a note. So the first note is now what the second note was before. So it's now G, B, D, F, and we added the note A, okay? So sometimes it just helps to know it's just one line down and it starts with the second note that we had in the treble clef. Sometimes that really helps kids. Not everybody, but some of us. So the poem, Good Boys Do Fine Always. Okay, that's a good one to help you remember the lines in the bass clef. The spaces in the bass clef, okay, all cows eat grass. Okay, and before we had F-A-C-E, and if you notice, this is A-C-E. Again, it's gone down one space. So instead of A being on the second space, now it's on the first space, and we've added the G at the top. Okay, so that might help you kind of click in a little bit. And then when we get to the grand staff, you'll see how they all work together, okay? Right now we're on the bass clef staff. Our first question says, the bass clef is written in 4 motions, and it shows us how to trace the dotted lines as indicated and then draw 4 more. This is exactly done the way that they have shown you to do it, okay? So you're making your dot, and make sure you make it on the second line from the top, because that, couldn't see what I was showing. Okay, the second line from the top is F. So you put your dot there. Okay, once you have your dot there, you start from that dot and you curl around. Dot, curl around. And then you add your 2 dots above and below in the spaces surrounding the F. So that's real important. You trace around the F line, make the circle, bring it around, and then 2 dots on either side. And why am I doing it there? 2 dots on either side because my sheet has an extra dot on it. I think yours might too. Oh, I see what they want us to do. They wanted us to fill those in. Come on, Miss G. So fill those in, come around, and dots on either side. So I'm going to do one freehand. Make your dot, bring it up and around. It's kind of like making an elephant's ear, I think, and then 2 dots on either side. I might have made that one a little wide. But that's what's cool about making music. Remember, it's unique. Everybody's is not the same. We're not a computer. Some of these are computer generated. That's not, back in the day when Mozart wrote music, his looked a lot different than the computer. Okay, look it up sometime. It's really interesting. Google notation Mozart, and let's just do it. Let's see what happens. This is how Miss G teaches, right? She goes, ooh, what if we Googled that? So I'm going to screen share with you. Let's see if I can do this. And I'll Google Mozart notation. And let's see if we can look at just how incredible his was. Okay, so I've got the screen share on. I'm going to Google Mozart notation. Okay, and let's just look at, I'm going to pick out, I'll just do the first one and see what comes up. Okay, it's giving us software. We don't want software. We want to actually see images of his notation. Ha 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 ha. Let's take a look at this one. Can you see what I'm talking about when we talk about it being unique? Look at this one. I have news for you guys. His stems are on the wrong side. Okay? He was writing so fast and furious. Oh, he did this one much better. Okay? So you can get an idea that people, look at his unique bass clefs up here. Can you see where I'm pointing there? Okay, so pretty cool, you guys. Isn't it fun to look at things and to learn that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be, you have to know what you're doing. Okay? I'm going to stop the share. And hello, I'm back. All right, so creating your unique bass clef, but you still have to follow the rules. I saw one of his were backwards. Mozart, shame on you. All right, so we're going to do number 2 now, guys, all right? It says, write the letter names of the following notes. Remember, you are in bass clef. I've had a couple kids do this assignment, and they've written in the notes for treble clef. Guys, all you got to do is look from here up to here. So what note's around the second line in bass clef? Second line, B. What note is around the first line in bass clef? First line, G. So I'm going to put my G in here. Make sure you're doing bass clef, not treble. Okay, this is different than the page before it. And some of the kids have been just fast going through and not looking at their bass clef. Make sure you do. Down at the bottom, just like on the previous page, we are now making the notes. Where is the B located? Is there more than one? I only see one B and it's on the second line. So I'm going to put my half moon above, and I'm going to do this way. Half moon above, half moon below, around line 2. And I've got my B. Okay. Which ones have more than one note that are named twice? Well, let's take a look. Ooh, does A get named twice? Yes. So you've got to put in 2 A's. So when you get to here, you want to be putting in an A on the space and an A on the line above. So A, space 1, half moon, and A, line 5. Half moon. The rest of them, okay, I'm going to fill in any more that are doubles. Let's see. Is there more than one G? Yes. Oh, Miss G, you noticed that right at the beginning. They gave you that one. So you're going to do it again down here. Hint, hint. Got more than one A? Is there more than one B? Nope. More than one C? Not yet. I can see that there's one here, though. Can you see that there's a C up there? Pretty soon you're going to learn something called ledger lines. And you're going to be going up the staff and putting in notes and making an imaginary line in the middle of it called a ledger line. I believe that's coming up on your next assignment, okay? So you don't need to do that this time, but that's just a little heads up. All right, let's take a look at lesson 4, and then I'm going to let you have some work time. Lesson 4, oh yeah, ledger lines are here, guys. We are talking about the grand staff, and it is grand indeed. And the grand staff, guys, is simply taking treble clef and bass clef and hooking them together. so that you can see how all of the notes work scale-wise, going up and down. All right, so that's what we're doing here. When the bass and treble staffs are connected by a brace, that's what this is called. Looks like a little parentheses, okay, but it's kind of fancy. It's called a brace. And a line, put the line completely over the two staffs. So brace is here, and then the line connects the two staffs together. Then they are combined to form the grand staff. And then it says ledger lines, the middle notes. So in other words, when you're going up the staff, when you get to the top line of the bass clef, there's more that are missing in here. Okay? The notes don't just stop and jump from A to E. They go A, B, C, D, E. Okay? So we put in some things called ledger lines if we need to, if the note is around an imaginary line, or we just leave it as a space note and we don't put a ledger line in the middle of it. That's what they're telling us. Ledger lines are short lines which are added to extend the range of the staff when the notes are too low or too high to be written on the staff. So it's showing us, the one I showed you on the last page, how to put that little line in on our note, which is C, because that is middle C. Notice middle C's in the middle of the grand staff. I'm going to put one up here so that you can see, pardon the pun, see where the note is. Okay? And I'm going to go A, B, and then I'm going to put my C over here so you can see it where it is in the middle, just to give you a good idea of how they connect together. So we're missing B, C, and D. We already said that, remember? So I have put them in. Here is where I put B, and then I went back to C so you could see how C, D, E continues up the staff. Okay? So we're just adding a ledger line so that we can see those notes which go above or below the staff. Did you notice that this note D doesn't have a ledger line? Because it's in every time you have a line, there's always a space below it. So there's a pattern, right? Line, space, 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 line, space. There's a pattern. If we go in scale motion, it always goes from line to space. If we do a skip, it doesn't do that. We skip a lot with our voices, don't we? We don't sing in order all the time. Our songs don't all go la 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 la. Sometimes they go la 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 do mi so, right? So it depends on what we're singing. Hope I'm keeping on track and you're understanding where we are. Let's read this bottom part. The notes in the middle range of the grand staff are B, C, and D. We just went over that. They can be written on ledger lines in both the bass and the treble clef staffs. So they can be written here, which is what I just did here, or they can be written here, which I did do here and here. Okay? But this note, this C, right here, is the same as this C. They are both the same pitch. I'm going to circle them so you can see what I'm talking about. This C and this C. They're the same pitch. And when we get to the middle of the staff, that's the one. Okay? We write them differently in case we're playing or singing them at a separate time. And it might be for a different voice. If I'm a baritone, I might sing this C. If I'm a soprano or alto, I might sing this one. Okay? All right. And number 1 says, trace these 3 braces, then using the staff provided, draw the grand staff 3 times, including the brace and the line. So basically, they're just asking you to trace the brace, draw the line. Trace the brace, draw the line. And then they want you to make your own, okay? So I'm going to do my brace and draw the line, all right? And I'm going to do that 3 times. Easy peasy. I've got to make sure I have both the brace and the line. If I don't do that, it's not a grand staff. And some of us have been not doing that all the way, okay? So it's going to ask you to keep adding as we go along in the packet. So you want to be following the steps to do the right thing. Thumbs up. Number 2, write the letter names of the notes from the treble staff. So they're giving you some review to do. And did you notice they didn't go in order? Because notes don't always go in order. They're not always scale-wise. So we look here, we say, oh, that's a D. It's below the staff. They showed you that note right here and they named it. Okay? B, C, and D. B, C, and D. So the D is here in the treble clef. Okay? The D is here in the bass clef. Good boys, D. And you can look up here and you can find these pitches, guys. And if you were smart, you wrote mine in. Because maybe you wrote B, C, D in there. But you can also see them here. Okay? So you're filling in your notes. Treble clef, bass clef. And does it say to do anything else? No, just write in the note names. So I'm going to put in my note names with capital letters, very readable, so Miss G knows that you are clear, because I've been noticing some kids when they turn in their work, I cannot read it because they've written too lightly or because their letters are too small. Boys and girls, when we do work online, I need to be able to see it, okay? And if you take a picture of it, which you should be doing, and then uploading your work, then I'll be able to read it well. And I also notice sometimes at the end of the paper, I can't see it completely. So open your packet so I can see the entire page. Then that way I know you've gotten everything correct. In fact, you could take a picture of 2 pages at once. That might be cool. All right. Number 4, write the notes indicated by the clefs and letter names in 2 places on the grand staff. Add ledger lines where necessary. So you're going to write the notes indicated by the clefs. So down at the bottom it says treble clef C. So you're writing a C here and a C here because you're using your ledger line. And now you're also using the C that was here. You're in treble clef when it says treble. Down here, this one is bass clef and it says B. So I'm going to look for my bass clef B's. Good boys. So I've got a line note B, so I'm going to write in my line B, and it says to put it in 2 places. Do you remember which one of these is also a B? The one I put at the top? The one that they put here? Also at the top of the staff on the space. That one is also a B. So we put that one in. And you continue until you're finished with all of that work. And that is the first 4 packets, or first 4 lessons that should be completed. I'll go on to 5 through 9 in my next session. Okay, boys and girls, good luck. Again, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. And I will be back with lessons 5 through 9 as soon as possible, especially for you, Gracie Smith. Take care, everybody.